Hi, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Data Bytes. I am here today with Panoply founder Yaniv Leven, and today we're going to be talking about the recognition that we've gotten this quarter from the peer-to-peer review site G2. So Yaniv, thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you on one of our episodes, and I'm just going to jump right into the questions. You know, this quarter we've gotten 11 badges, 11 customer review badges, which is amazing. A couple of them that stood out to me, are the easiest setup and fastest implementation. And these two categories we've actually gotten for 14 quarters in a row. And I'm just interested to hear how those two specifically might validate some of the goals that you had when you started the company.
Yeah. Thanks, Allison. So those are the goals, right? When we went about to build out Panoply, the vision we wanted to bring to the market was a vision that was a bit different than what was out there until that date. And by the way, still today, I think still today, Panoply is a big outlier in the warehousing space and the data space. Back then and still today, most technologies, especially in the data space, they fight around two core axes: the axis of cost, so lower costs, and the axis of speed. So the faster you are, the lower the costs, and that's basically the 2-3 year iterations of technologies, faster, cheaper, and so on. Panoply wanted to bring a different voice to the market. We wanted to reach the market from the UX perspective, the ability to harness these technologies, harness or reach the data world, touch data, mess around with data without actually having to know too much about the underlying infrastructure. So we didn't build our own warehouse. We took warehousing technologies that were in the space and tried to make them available to people who are not engineers, to analysts, maybe data engineers back then. Today, data engineers are kind of more closer to developers than they were a couple years ago, but definitely to different types of analysts. And that's basically what we did. So Panoply today, back then, and definitely today, you don't need to be an engineer to manage your ETL processes. You don't need to be an engineer to build out your data infrastructure. It scales out with you. You don't need to be an engineer to understand the different schemas and so on that interact inside the architecture. Panoply takes care of all that for you. And it could be different types of warehouses, different types of storage. Basically, you could choose whatever type of infrastructure you want. Panoply takes care and automates the building of the infrastructure and lets you focus on managing and playing around with the data. It's very unique still today. I don't know of any other technology that enables you to harness these technologies in such an easy and fast way.
Great, thank you. It sounds like those badge recognitions are spot on for what you were thinking and what that vision was. So, this quarter we also won 3 new badges that we hadn't had before in the small business segment, and these were the easiest to do business with, best relationship, and best support. And I know that support has always been a big thing for us as well. Can you speak a little bit to how building on our recognitions in these categories supports the direction that you'd like to see the company go in the next few years?
Yeah, so the general approach has always been a bottom-up approach. So Panoply can be harnessed by small organizations, 5-person organizations, a startup that's kind of just getting off the ground. It can be harnessed by larger organizations, and it can be harnessed by different business units and enterprise organizations. But the general idea has been that even if you're a 5-person organization, you still need to mess around with data. You still need to be data oriented. And there are no real tools out there that enable you to do that. Not with a fully scalable data infrastructure.
Sure.
There are other tools that enable you to kind of play around, but then you got to switch the entire architecture after you grow. So we built kind of like a fully scalable architecture that could also be harnessed by 5 people sitting in a garage and have no data engineering knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where that comes in, and we're going to continue supporting that for the future, because that's our philosophy. That being said, the company's also growing, and we're also now putting more and more focus on larger organizations, and that's also part of what we're doing here with Scream. Now, you asked about support, customer support or success. That specific badge is an output of a general philosophy of connection with the customer, with the partner. Ever since the beginning, we've partnered with other technologies that can enable our customers to get more value around the data stack. And we've spent a lot of efforts around automating our support processes, around providing different levels of support processes, because our customers usually come from a different background than typical data warehousing customers.
Yeah.
They're not engineers. Sometimes there are things that are not optimal or need optimization, things that you need to maybe change inside the stack, where the data is stored, how it's stored. Sometimes the algorithms don't do the best job. And that's where you need customer success to support these customers that are not necessarily data savvy or too data savvy in terms of the infrastructure. So it's a very important badge, I think, for Panoply to get in terms of its recognition, but it's just an output of a larger general philosophy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned Scream, which leads me into my last question here. So as most people are probably aware, by now Panoply was acquired by Scream last year. And in your opinion, now that it's been a little over 6 months now, how has that acquisition increased our visibility in the general data and analytics market?
It's a good question. So Scream, Scream is a GPU-based database. They attract the very largest types of customers in the data space, right? So organizations that deal with hundreds of terabytes of data or petabytes of data that need to solve some sort of processing challenges. Panoply does the exact opposite, right? Panoply deals with usually smaller organizations that don't have too much knowledge around the data space or on the data infrastructure, and they need something very quick to enable them to set up and start kind of understanding their business. The merger of these two technologies enables, one, better visibility of both types of technologies to other spaces, to the cross spaces. Two, it's enabled Panoply to grow as a product to larger types of organizations that we typically did not address in the past. And thirdly, we're actually now working on a project that will be coming out soon that incorporates the best of two worlds. So taking these technologies that can handle massive amounts of data, unspeakable amounts of data that we couldn't even think of in the Panoply world, and kind of sassifying these technologies with Panoply's really superb and unique UI and UX, enabling that type of technology to be reached in the market by organizations that up till now were not able to reach that technology. just because of its implementation time, its the knowledge needed in order to kind of build and implement the support needed on the side. We're taking all of that out and automating that through Panoply's UX. And I think that's going to be a very, very interesting release into the market. Something very fresh that the market does not have right now.
Yep, I'm glad you put out a little teaser about that, because it's a very exciting thing coming up. So, well, Yaniv, thank you. Those were all my questions for today. So we're, again, just thrilled to have this recognition from our customers from G2. So we appreciate you coming on, and everyone, I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you at the next episode.